The latest tech.
I'm Alexa. I can answer your questions.
Interviews.
And we are evolving, and we are seeing an amazing opportunity that's happening.
Accessibility.
Accessibility is one of our core values.
This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome to another edition of Double Tap TV. Thank you guys so much for getting involved and being here every week. I am Marc Aflalo, Stephen Scott standing by before we bring him on and our special guest this week. I want to remind you that if you want to get in touch, our email address is feedback@ami.ca. On Twitter, we welcome all types of feedback at Double Tap Canada with the hashtag AskDoubleTap. Stephen Scott, we've got a great show lined up this week, do we not?
Oh, we do, and we're talking about something which I love talking about and talking to. Talking to yourself is becoming a bit of a thing these days because so many people who've been through lockdown have been experiencing this talking to themselves thing. But actually, sometimes people aren't talking to themselves, but actually to robots, Mark, smart assistants, and that's where we're talking about today.
I have so many voices, Stephen, going on in my head at a given point in time, mostly because of the various devices around me, such as my Amazon Echo, my Google Home, my Apple HomePod, which kind of gets not too much love these days, unlike your voiceover speech in all your different headsets, right?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, when you're blind or partially sighted and you use a screen reader, I'll give you my setup, right? So I've got a voice on my Mac, which is my voiceover voice. I've also got a virtual machine running on that, which has got Windows on it. So I've got JAWS coming out of that same machine. I've got my phone, I've got my work phone, I've got my iPad. All of them speak. And I've also got my smart assistant that talks as well. So yeah, it does get a bit grating after a while. The only thing I love about smart speakers is they only speak when they're spoken to, unlike everything else in my life. I shouldn't say every one.
Yeah, well, yeah, speaking of which. Why don't you tell us who is joining us this week on the show? Because we've got a very special guest, a friend of the show, let's call him.
Absolutely. A friend of the show, a friend of mine as well, who I'm really pleased to bring back onto the programme this week. He's head of digital inclusion at the UK organisation AbilityNet. He's also host of the daily 5-minute Echo podcast called Dot to Dot. It's Robin Christopherson. Hello, Robin.
I am really, really pleased and excited to be here on Double Tap TV with you guys again. Thank you.
And listen, we really do appreciate your time because you did set up the Dot to Dot podcast. For people who don't know what it is, can you explain it?
Every day, less than 5 minutes, we do a demo of a skill or a built-in feature on the Echo Dot or the Echo Middle or the Echo Big or the Echo Show, the one with a screen. All of those are technical terms, by the way. So yeah, we on all different flavours of Echo, there is so much that you can do. And every single day we look at a different one, and we've been going for over 1,000 episodes now, and we haven't even scratched the surface. So absolutely, I talk to everything, and most of the time they talk back as well.
Robin, would you be able to tell me, if I asked you this question, would you be able to tell me how many skills are there right now for the Amazon Echo? They're probably, hundreds of thousands? Have we reached that point yet?
Well, maybe in the US. Here in the UK, I think it's about 40,000 in the skill store. In Canada, I'm not sure. In the States, I think it's well over 50, probably closer to 60,000. But that's a lot. You're never going to get through those. There'll always be something. All the household names, all of the important features like getting train times, getting what's on the TV, finding out information about the weather, about local businesses, calling people, becoming entertained or educated, getting fit. All of those things are there. And some of them are built in, and other ones you'll need to find out about either by word of mouth or by looking in the app yourself or by listening to Dot to Dot.
I find it amazing. Some people, call me and say, hey, I just got this great new device. What can I do with it? And they don't even realize that the whole skills, quote unquote, store is even available to them. So once I open that Pandora's box, it's amazing the things that people come up with on their own, let alone the things that you can do with various skills.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, how do you find out about apps on your phone, for example? You'd go into the App Store because you see that icon there. But unless you actually try to invoke a skill or something that she can't actually do out of the box, then you're not going to get her prompting you. And you won't necessarily even discover that there are these other third-party skills that are really, really helpful as well. So, I mean, she is getting better at that, particularly if you've tried one skill. She'll recommend other ones that you might like as a result of trying that first one. But kind of getting into the skill ecosystem in the first place isn't necessarily that obvious. I think as more people get really excited about their Echoes and do discover things that they can do, then they will tell other people, just by on social media or when they talk to people, whatever it might be, or through podcasts and that sort of thing. But if occasionally you do go into your app to make changes to the settings of your different devices, you might notice that there is a skills section. You might notice that there's a routine section. Oh, I can set up my calendar. Oh, there's reminders and to-do lists and stuff. So, you might notice that way as well.
This is primarily an at-home device. You would use it at home. So if someone was to buy one of these for, say, a relative, maybe an elderly relative, would they be able to use it if, for example, that person didn't have or want to use a smartphone?
Yeah, absolutely. They would need Wi-Fi, and somebody else could set it up for them. I did that for my sister, who was also, as well as being blind, she is paralysed as well. She's got MS, and she isn't into technology. She's only got her voice. She can't use her hands or anything, and she can't see. So we set that up for her. You just install the app on your phone, you go through the setting up process, and then you don't have to have that phone present in the house. That person can literally just use that device going forward, and in her case, to control her environment as well as everything that the Echo has to offer. So from a broader disability point of view, to be able to, turn your lights on and off, change the channel on your TV, all of those things, what for us is super cool and sexy, for them is a real game changer, and it's hugely affordable as well. It's mainstream products that we'd be buying to make our environment that bit smarter. So yeah, you could set it up for your relative. You could then use it for, if you've got a screen, video calling them, keeping in touch. And it's a brilliant way to stay connected with older friends or relatives, and for them to be able to, find out information, be reminded about when they should take their medication, for example, or to put the bins out for it, whatever it might be, to add things to a shopping list, which you then could go and get for them and leave on their doorstep, say. So, it's almost endless what you can do with it. And the fact that the interface is so simple, you just talk to the Air, and she hopefully will be able to do exactly what you want.
Robin, we're going to take a quick break because we want to come back and we want to actually demonstrate some of the skills that people may not know about. Some are built in, some are third party. So let's take a quick break. It is Double Tap TV. I am Marc Aflalo. We're with Stephen Scott, and our special guest this week is Robin Christopherson. We're back on Double Tap TV in just a moment.
Love Double Tap TV? Listen to AMI Audio for Double Tap Canada every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for news and reviews on everything tech. This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome back to Double Tap TV. I am Marc Aflalo with Stephen Scott, and our special guest this week, Robin Christopherson. If you guys want to get involved, again, feedback@ami.ca is the email address, and of course on Twitter it is @DoubleTapCanada with the hashtag AskDoubleTap.
Now, Robin, I have to ask you what might appear to be the most obvious question we are going to ask you on the programme today, and that is, what is the best skill for the Amazon Echo?
That's like saying what's
That's like
the
asking
best
him who
app?
your favorite child is.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Or what's the best app on your phone? Surely the context is all important. If you're asking me personally which one I get the most enjoyment out of, I'm going to go to a game, aren't I? And there's a game called Magic Door. It was the very first episode of Dot to Dot that I did because I just loved it so much. It's a choose-your-own, very immersive, audio-rich adventure game. So give that a go. I have no idea whether it's got visuals associated with it, but many skills, many games do. So, and they're totally additional, they're optional. They just add a bit of colour. So for example, I've been working recently with a brilliant developer called Vocala. They have many games or many skills in the skill store. And there's one called Puzzler, which is a crossword game. And you might think, well, how is a blind person going to access that? Well, it has visuals, so it'll come up on the screen if I open that now. But also, everything is spoken out really well. And you can tell where the blanks are. It tells you how many letters it has. It has the pronunciation of the sequence of characters, and the timing even, really, really perfect. So it's a very inclusive experience. And if you've got eyes, brilliant, you'll see the crossword on the screen and you can type into the blanks if you want to. But that's also fully accessible if you're using it on an Echo without a screen.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. I mean, blind people are allowed to have fun, right? So, and we're all allowed to have fun. So that's the point. And that's why I asked you that, because what's been the most immersive experience for you? Okay, so let me ask you the next one then. What's been the most valuable skill to you?
I think the calendar, which is very boring, but just to be able to say what appointments are coming up. Now, this is in the context of somebody who has, 8 or 9 probably appointments a day, and I really can't afford to miss any. And somebody else is saying, can we have a call this afternoon? So many times a day, I call up my calendar and she'll give you the next 4 appointments, and then she'll ask you if you want to hear more. You can also say, what am I doing next Thursday afternoon? Or what am I doing on the 27th of August in the morning? Things like that, which, very quickly being able to get to that. Now, we all know that mobile phones can be really efficient at, getting apps are often a much cleaner experience than going on a website, for example. Well, imagine that the smart speaker is like that next level again. You can just ask a very specific thing, and before you've even kind of found the app to open it on your phone, you've got the answer that you want. So something as simple as that, I think, is really, really powerful. But there are, many other ones that I would use on a weekly basis. Like in normal times, I do a lot of traveling by train. So there's a train time skill, which will tell you when the next trains are, or you can ask how much they are, what the prices of a particular journey are. There's one called Bus Info, which will tell you what's coming, what the next 3 services are to all of the nearby bus stations that you've kind of set up in that skill. So ones like that, supremely useful. But just asking it the weather, when you've got a guide dog and you have to take it out at least twice a day for a good long leg stretch, certainly at the moment, it's been bucketing down for the last couple of days like it's the end of the world. But to ask the A-lady...
It is the UK.
To ask her when it's going to be sunny, or, when it's going to rain next, or will it rain this afternoon, she's really good at responding to that. But I'll show you a skill called Big Sky, which is actually even better, and that's a good example of where third-party skills can take the built-in functionality to the next level. Alexa, open Big Sky. So with this skill, you can actually get to the minute.
It's 15 degrees with overcast skies, remaining that way for the hour. You can expect light rain starting tonight, continuing until tomorrow afternoon. Today's high will be 16 degrees.
Alexa, close.
6:37 p.m.
Now, if rain is imminent, she'll say starting in 22 minutes and ending in 47 minutes, things like that. Obviously, this was a little bit later on. But you could ask for the humidity, the wind speed, the UV factor, the pollen count, all of these things. So there's just such a rich depth of information. It really is, what do you want to use it for? Have a play, and then you'll find out what the favourite skills that you'll like are.
Now, you've been using this for a long time. You've obviously gone through a lot of these skills in order to create the Dr. podcast. But I'm wondering what your most surprising experience has been. What skill have you tried that you've thought, this might be okay, might maybe not even work, and then you've been absolutely blown away by?
I think that there's so many skills that you think aren't going to be available. It's not going to be possible to do A, B, or C. Like purchasing, obviously Amazon is built in. So you can just with a single phrase, you can order something, particularly if you've ordered it before. Then to reorder things, she'll say, I've found this particular item in your purchase history. Is this what you mean? So you'll know you've got exactly the right one. So we've never bought, the very first thing I bought on it was 400 unbleached coffee filters. And we've never needed to add that to our shopping list and actually physically get it from the shop, from the supermarket anymore, like a prehistoric caveman. Those have always come along with so many other products. But you might think, well, okay, that's Amazon, so obviously that's built in. But did you know that you can actually order pizza? You can, get people to deliver other things to your door as well. There's a whole Just Eat service that's supported. There are so many third-party skills that just like, companies would want to have their brand, their services available on your smartphone. Well, increasingly that's the case with the Echo as well. You can order flowers, whatever it is you can do. ask yourself, well, what can I do on my phone? And then chances are, have a go on your smart speaker, and it may well be that there is a skill for you. So if you ask her, how do I do X? How do I order flowers? Or, how do I find out the telephone number of something? If you just have a stab and ask the question, chances are, if she can't do it herself, she'll recommend a skill as well. So I would say just experiment. Obviously, subscribe to the Dot to Dot podcast, because then you'll get lots of ideas on a daily basis. But just have a go, and you'll be really surprised and probably even amazed about what it can do.
There's so many things that Alexa can do, with multi-family homes and various elements like that. So let's take a quick break, and I want to dive into some of those features. And I want to jump back to the calendar, Robin, as well, because I have a specific question about a trouble I'm having with mine in my home, and hopefully you can solve that for me. It is Double Tap TV. He is Stephen Scott. I am Marc Aflalo, and our guest this week, Robin Christopherson. We'll be back in just a moment.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit ami.ca/doubletap. This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome back to Double Tap TV. Marc Aflalo and Stephen Scott, as always. Our guest this week, Robin Christopherson, talking all things smart speakers, specifically, Amazon Echo. Now, Robin, you touched upon the calendar as being one of the most useful features to you, and I use it a lot as well. But I've got a household where I've got two small kids that are constantly barking orders at her. I've got my wife that are constantly asking questions. Now, I'm able to train... I'm able to train my voice, so she can recognize when I'm speaking, and I could do the same for my wife. But when it comes to my kids, because they're under the age of 13, there's no feature, at least yet, that I'm aware of where I could train their voices. So when they ask questions about my calendar, I don't necessarily want them to hear everything that's going on. So I'm wondering if there's a way that you know of that I can almost separate or create user profiles for people that might be under 13. The answer might well be no, but I'm just curious because I've searched far and wide, and I cannot find the answer to this one.
As far as I'm aware, if you have separate accounts for them and under family, you then log in as them in the app and don't activate a calendar for them. But I'm not sure with the learning of your voice, because like you say, you have to be over 13 for that. So how would they know that it's not you talking? Because unless you say to the A lady, learn my voice, and she'll ask you to say a few phrases and your name, and from then on, she'll recognize you as you. So you've obviously done that for you and your wife. Then if another person comes into the house and asks the Echo something, obviously she's going to answer. She's not going to ignore them. But just like your children, she's not going to know their voices. So she won't know not to use the default calendar, which is probably your own. So yeah, as far as I know, that's a bit of a hole still. I don't know, you can't put a pin on it either, which you can for shopping, which I would thoroughly recommend.
My workaround is to just change their age.
That's exactly what I was going to say, but I didn't want to condone that. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes, we don't condone. Don't do this at home, 13. People. Do not do this at home.
Yeah.
Now, Stephen, you had a question from one of our listeners, one of our viewers.
Yeah, that's right. So we got an email in from Alice to ask, do you need to use the A lady word to wake up Alexa?
You said her name. Well, no, you can change it to one of three other things: Amazon, Echo, or computer, like in Star Trek. So yeah, you can say those other three ones, but you can't choose to give her a random other name that really tickles you. So yeah, go into the settings, and there is the wake word, and you can choose from the other three: Amazon, Echo, and computer. But Alexa's better, isn't it? Said it as well.
Well, yeah.
It is, except when you are my friend's house and their daughter's name is Alexia.
True.
So every time you call her, it tends to trigger that. So in their household, we've changed it to computer because it's fun. I've got a tweet here from a viewer, no name, but they're asking, when it comes to the Echo shows with the screen, what kind of things can you do differently because there is a screen?
That's such a brilliant question, and listeners are going to be asking, well, what do you use the screen for primarily? Well, obviously, when information comes up, like asking Wikipedia about a particular person or place or whatever, you're going to get pictures as well as text, but everything will be spoken out to you. We've heard Voice View, which is a built-in screen reader, which is very, very sophisticated, just as sophisticated as VoiceOver for daily use. So that's really important to stress that. But you can look at photos if you've got some useful vision. You can do video calls with people. And even if you can't see, if they can, they'll want to see you when you're keeping in touch with relatives, etc. So that's really useful too. There is a shutter on the camera, so you can physically turn off the camera for security purposes. So people might be concerned about that. But you can also watch your Amazon videos. You can watch YouTube videos. You can watch TV shows. Alexa, open Stream Player.
Welcome.
This skill has
What would you like
dozens
to do?
of TV channels.
For example, say
Alexa,
watch BBC News.
Watch Al Jazeera. So obviously
Launching
watching
Al
TV
Jazeera.
is really important as well for a lot of people, just while you're having breakfast. Sky News, BBC News. Alexa, pause. So,
AMI TV.
AMI TV. Alexa, stop. Absolutely. So yeah, you can look at Facebook photos, so you can have your friend feed, randomly showing you photos of friends. You can have your photos coming up randomly as, like a screensaver. So there's so many things that the screen is useful for. If you've got some vision, if other people in your household have got some vision, or if you want to be able to explore the screen at leisure. If you ask Recipedia for a recipe, then yes, you can ask her to repeat the different steps or the ingredients, but to be able to review them at leisure on the screen with your finger is really useful too.
And Amazon Music gives you lyrics when songs are playing, so there are various things that you can do with the screen. Robin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I feel like we just scratched the surface, no pun intended, of everything that we can do with this, well, obviously the Amazon Echo. Remind people how they can listen to your podcast.
Great, so just 3 words. Please search for it in your podcatching app of choice or ask the A-Lady to play it. If you want it to be served up as part of your daily flash briefing, just say, A-Lady, open the daily 5-minute skill demo show, and she'll ask to add it to your flash briefing. Thanks a lot.
Love it. Robin Christopherson, thank you so much for joining us. Stephen, we always learn so much from Robin. It's so nice to have him on the show, and I think we're going to have to keep doing this as time goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it shows not only how wonderful these devices are and how capable they are, but also how we as blind people are able to use them in the same way as everyone else. It really is bridging that gap with mainstream technology, which is brilliant.
Thank you guys for being here. Again, if there's something that you want to talk about, something we talked about, or something that you want us to talk about down the road, by all means, it is feedback@ami.ca on email, and of course on Twitter, it is @DoubleTapCanada with the hashtag AskDoubleTap. On behalf of Stephen Scott and Robin Christopherson, I am Marc Aflalo. Thank you guys for being here on Double Tap TV.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit ami.ca/doubletap.
Hosted by Marc Aflalo and Stephen Scott. Guest Robin Christopherson. Editing Marc Aflalo and Will Attar. Production assistants Wendy Kaufman. Integrated Described Video Specialist Ron Rickford. Coordinating Producer Jennifer Johnson. Director Production Karen Nye. Director Programming Brian Perdue. VP Content Development and Programming John Melville. President and CEO David Arrington. Copyright 2020 Accessible Media Inc.